In the Horn of Africa, a historic argument is unfolding between Ethiopia and Eritrea, two nations bound by blood, divided by war. Ethiopia, landlocked and home to over 120 million people, frames its quest for sea access as a matter of national survival and economic necessity. Eritrea, with its fiercely guarded Red Sea coastline, sees this not as economics, but as a threat to its hard-won sovereignty. For Eritreans, the coastline is the ultimate prize of a brutal independence war, a symbol of identity and sacrifice. Ethiopia speaks of mutual benefit and regional prosperity, but Eritrea hears echoes of past occupation and existential threat. The result? A dangerous dialogue of the deaf, where one side talks economics and the other survival. This is not just a diplomatic dispute, but a clash of two irreconcilable national realities. For Eritrea, the Red Sea is more than geography. It's the heart of national identity and the symbol of victory after decades of war. The ports of Massawa and Assab are etched in memory as sites of sacrifice and resilience, especially after the pivotal Operation Fenkel. When Ethiopia asks for port access, Eritreans hear a demand to surrender the very prize for which so many died. The sea means freedom from dependency, a promise kept to generations of martyrs. Independence gave Eritrea control over its destiny for the first time. Any negotiation over the coast is seen as a challenge to the very foundation of the Eritrean state. For Eritrea, even partial loss of control would mean the war for independence was never truly won. The shadow of two devastating wars haunts Ethiopia-Eritrea relations. Eritrea's 30-year struggle for independence forged deep suspicion and a survivalist mindset. Hopes for peace after 1993 were shattered by the 1998-2000 border war, which killed tens of thousands and destroyed trust. Ethiopia's refusal to implement the Algiers peace ruling for years cemented Eritrea's view of its neighbor as untrustworthy. This legacy of broken promises and violence is the soil in which today's Red Sea tensions grow. Even the 2018 peace, once hailed as historic, now feels distant. Every Ethiopian proposal is scrutinized for hidden motives. Without addressing this deep mistrust, talk of shared interests is futile. The power imbalance is stark. Ethiopia, with 120 million people and a vast economy, towers over Eritrea's 3.5 million. Ethiopia's military and political clout are unmatched in the region. Eritrea, shaped by hardship and isolation, knows it cannot win a direct confrontation. This David and Goliath dynamic fuels Eritrea's defensive posture. Ethiopia's talk of needs sounds like a veiled threat to Asmara. Eritrea's survival depends on strategic caution and unity, not on matching Ethiopia's might. Any concession is seen as a slippery slope toward losing sovereignty. In this context, Eritrea feels it cannot afford to give an inch. Eritrea's response to Ethiopia's push for sea access is a set of uncompromising red lines. First, no territorial concessions. Its borders, defined by history and blood, are sacred. Second, Eritrea rejects any Ethiopian claim to a natural right to the Red Sea, dismissing it as revisionist and illegitimate. The coastline belongs solely to Eritreans, regardless of Ethiopia's size or needs. Third, no Ethiopian military or naval presence on Eritrean soil or waters. Such a move is seen as an existential threat. Security and sovereignty are inseparable. Foreign bases are unthinkable. Eritrea also refuses to negotiate under threats or public pressure. Prime Minister Abiy's public statements are viewed as intimidation, not dialogue. Any talks must begin with unconditional respect for Eritrea's sovereignty. Without this, there is nothing to discuss. These red lines form a defensive wall around Eritrea's independence. Despite its hard lines, Eritrea leaves a narrow door open, a strictly commercial port deal. Ethiopia could access Eritrean ports as any other international customer would, with no special privileges. Terms would be market-based, profitable for Eritrea, and managed solely by Eritrean authorities. Agreements would be time-bound, regularly reviewed, and easily terminated if Eritrea's interests are threatened. No deal would be permanent or imply Ethiopian rights to the coast. Most crucially, any agreement depends on trust and the end of perceived threats from Addis Ababa. Ethiopia must publicly affirm Eritrea's sovereignty and borders. Only then could technical talks begin, and only after years of trust building. The path exists, but it is paved with respect, not demands. For now, the door remains barely ajar. The Ethiopia-Eritrea standoff is more than a local dispute. It's a flashpoint for the entire Horn of Africa and beyond. Regional stability hangs in the balance, with fragile neighbors like Djibouti, Somalia, and Sudan at risk of being drawn in. Djibouti's economy depends on Ethiopian trade. Any shift could destabilize the country and force it to take sides. The Red Sea is a global trade artery. 12% of world trade passes through the Bab el-Mandeb. Instability here threatens international shipping, drawing in powers like the US, China, Russia, and Turkey. Ethiopia's recent deal with Somaliland and Egypt's deepening ties with Eritrea show how quickly the region's chessboard shifts. The Horn is already reeling from drought, famine, and Sudan's civil war. Renewed conflict would worsen humanitarian crises and shatter fragile peace efforts. The world cannot afford a new war in the Horn. Its consequences would be global. A peaceful resolution is in everyone's interest. The Horn of Africa stands at a crossroads, fear and suspicion on one side, understanding and peace on the other. Ethiopia's economic anxieties and Eritrea's trauma fuel a cycle of mistrust and defensiveness. Breaking this cycle requires both sides to move beyond demands and red lines. Ethiopia must respect Eritrea's sovereignty and build trust through patience and law. Eritrea, in turn, must see that a stable Ethiopia is in its own interest. Endless isolation offers little hope. Credible trust building could open a path to mutual benefit. The question, can these nations find a language beyond war and fear? The stakes, for the Horn and the world, could not be higher.